Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Yes, it's Bigfoot Michigan Rob, and I'm trying my new internet service. I had some technical difficulties already getting started, but I'm kind of happy. To be here for everybody for brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob today. I was a pre-record from Halloween with Jessica Jones. So I dropped that. Finally got my internet situated. So, we'll see what happens for the rest of the day. I'm pretty much pleased to be here. And thank you for each and every single one of you for dropping in and joining this impromptu show. It's mostly I want to check my internet and talk to you guys. I do have a cool story. You know how I always do my Bigfoot encounter stories on Friday. Well, I'm going to give you one live today to check everything out, because that's what I wanted to do. Tex, he's in Alabama at the Alabama Bigfoot Conference and having a great time. I've already talked to him. He sent me his current meal. His current meal was a big, tall margarita and some frog legs and a bunch of stuff. It was a fabulous picture. I got to admit, you guys, I was a little bit jealous. I was a little bit of jealousy. And, I figured, what the hell? They're having a good time in Alabama. I'll do a live show. I got this encounter story and a few other things that we can get into this evening. I appreciate everybody for popping in. Don't forget, on Mondays is Texas Front Porch at 9 o'clock in the East. Tuesdays is Beyond BMR at 9 in the East. And don't forget Van Buren Variety at 8 in the East. Jason does something mysterious library at Untold Radio, 10 o'clock in the East. Wednesdays is Jason McLean questions everything at 8 in the East. Thursday, brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob, 1 o'clock in the East. Again, today was a pre-record with the fabulous Jessica from last Halloween. So go check that out if you have not already. The Blondes, the Booze, the Paranormal Podcast, Thursdays at 9. I think they're dropping a pre-record tonight because the Blondes and Booze are also with Tex in Alabama. I'm feeling lonely, you guys. That's why I jumped on today. Plus I did want to check out my new internet. Fridays as well. You need some more woo with the Booze. The Blondes, the Booze, and the Woos, Fridays at 9 o'clock. Saturdays, Tex does something called Infamous Minds, 3 in the East with Danielle Diva. Go check out that show if you're into, true crime and murder mysteries. Saturday, Jessica Jones, Spaced Out Radio, 10 o'clock in the East, Saturday and Sunday. Thanks to each and every single one of you for dropping in and joining me in this impromptu show. Again, for those people just coming in, checking out the internet. I said, well, you know what? I'm going to do an encounter story that I typically do on Friday. I got some other things lined up, and I appreciate you. Sugar Britches, Freaky Geek, Scott. Oh, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Hi, buddy. Amy, Freaky Geek, Glenn, the Paranormal Voice, Grasshopper, Sandra Piper. Who else we have rolling? Brown Dwarf, A. Brown. How you doing, buddy? Donnie Cho, the fabulous Donnie Cho. A new podcast coming out from Donnie. I don't know when, but look for Donnie Cho in the future. Love that guy, Donnie Cho. Thanks for popping in. Help me out. Judy, Lori Barnes, Maggie. Who else? Donna Shanks. Hi, Donna. How are you? Nice to see you. A newbie in here. Thank you so much. Linda Thomas. How are you? Again, thanks to everybody for joining me on this impromptu live show. Taking out your time on a Thursday. Checking out the internet, and I appreciate it. Yeah, so you guys, Tex, they're all in. Last year I was at the Alabama Bigfoot Conference, and as most of you know that follow me, know that I had some knee surgery, yada, yada, a lot of things I couldn't do. So I was feeling, shoot, I should be there at the conference because I got to tell you guys, conferences, if you've never been to, do yourself a favor. One time in your life, if you follow cryptids or hell, it could be cryptids, it could be aliens, paranormal. These conferences, you guys, they're fabulous. I highly recommend them just to hang out, meet some people, talk Bigfoot, Dogman. If you're into the aliens, you can talk that. And so it's a tremendous value for your money if you can put it. I'll be making the circuit next year. This year I had to set some parameters, and of course, being injured didn't really help much. But anyways, thanks, hey Penny, thanks for everyone that joined. So I'm going to get on with this again. Every Friday, you guys, for those of you that are new or perhaps you don't or are not aware of, on Fridays I drop live. I drop a video encounter stories from either subscribers or emails that I get throughout the past year. And I put together, they send them in and I look them over and I put them out for you guys. And everybody seems to love those. Today, I'm going to do a live version of that. And I got a couple other things that I could get into for you, depending on how the day goes and so far how the internet goes. And right now, I got full command of the internet. It looks like I dropped my last service provider. So we're looking good right now. So I'm going to get into this story. It's about a dog man. And this is actually, this story, everybody, it's a friend of mine that I grew up with, a childhood friend. And he lives in Milford, Michigan, and he still lives there today. And when I talk about a childhood friend, everybody, we're going way back to when I was a little kid, 10, 11, 12. We were great friends, and we're still great friends today. And he watches the show, and I talk to him on the phone regularly. And he always said, Rob, we got to talk about that one story that we found to be highly unusual. Now, my friend wants to remain anonymous, but I'm going to tell out or give his name anyway. His name's Mike. Hi, Mike. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sure he's watching. And this was really strange, everybody. And now this is way before I was into cryptids, the paranormal, before I even had any encounters of my own. Again, to set the scene or the setting, it's in Milford, Michigan. My parents were best friends with Mickey and Shirley. And their kids were Mike and Beth. So right around, again, the age of 10 or 11, we would always go there. It was almost like every other weekend we would go there. Now, way back when, I'm not going to disclose the date, it was quite some time ago, probably the 70s, the 80s, when we're growing up. Their property was about a quarter acre of property. And it was nestled back up to the woods. Woods all over Milford. Today, Milford still has a lot of woods. It's still built up. It's built up, excuse me, but it's still got a lot of forest out there. So the one thing that was kind of annoying, though, about Mickey and Shirley's property, every time myself and my brother would go to the house in Milford with mom and dad to meet, and I would hang out with Mike and Beth. There was a dog pen way back in the woods. And usually it didn't matter what time of day it was, everybody. It did not matter what time of day it was. It could be the early afternoon. It could be the evening. It could be late at night. But we would hear the yelps and the howls of all of these dogs just yapping and barking. Some of them made howls. Now, I know that the howls were the howls of like a dog, right? There's no wolves in Milford, Michigan. There's nothing like that. And this went on. We were 10, We're 11, we're 12, we're 13. Now we're in our early teens, and everybody, we never went back to find the source of these dogs. We heard there was a dog kennel or a big elaborate dog pen back there. But as kids, we were scared of the dogs. We were just simply scared of the sounds that the dogs made. Again, several years went by and we decided, you know what, let's go find this kennel in the woods. As young kids, myself, Mike, my brother Dave, we took this journey into the woods during the yelping of these dogs, and we were traversing through the woods closer and closer to this kennel. We are 15, 20 minutes into this. We're getting closer, we're getting closer, we're getting closer. And now we kind of ahead of us, we finally get through the brush of the woods and we see, sure enough, this big kennel, huge kennel. And it's all German Shepherds, um, and I think Doberman Pinschers. They're running about in this kennel, and it was kind of like haphazard, everybody. It wasn't I've never experienced a kennel back as a kid during this time, so I didn't know what to expect. But it was 10, 15 dogs all running amok. And this kennel, this pen, was probably, I like to say, it was a square. It was a square kennel, maybe 100 feet by 100 feet. It was a square, and all these dogs are running around. And I could tell it wasn't kept because you could immediately smell all the dog remains when they went to the bathroom. That was very pungent, and they would run around in the kettle. And now off to the right of this kennel, there was this gray, dilapidated type of house, and it just looked spooky. So the three of us noticing the kennel, we are like, wow, well, we found, the kennel that's, this is where the source of what everything is coming through. So we did it. It was over with. And we went about our business and we left. Not a big deal. Now, again, everybody, this is when we were kids in Milford, Michigan. We are at this time doing this exploration was 10 to 13, 14 years old. Mike's parents, now we're going to update this to 2019 when this encounter actually takes place or where this all unfolds. Mike's mom and dad, they moved and they offered the house to his siblings, Mike and Beth. Well, Beth did not want the house. Mike says, you know what, Mom and Dad? Yeah, I'll take it. I'm not getting into whatever business relations that Mike did with Beth, but Mike kept this house in in Milford, backed up to the woods. 2019. And throughout the last years, this kennel was always in existence. I guess it was a family-run business, and there was always you could always hear the dogs. Always. It was just annoying. In fact, I told Mike, I said, man, dude, I wouldn't. Why would you? That's so annoying. Why would you even buy your mom and dad's place? Well, blah blah blah. Gave me a good price, whatever. I said, well, fine, good for you. So, throughout the years, again, the barking, the howls of the dog subsided throughout all the years, down to a minimum. And Mike said, "Hey, Rob, it's, blah blah blah. I don't hear a lot anymore." Then all of a sudden, one night he hears, and the kennel never went out of business. There's always dogs in there. Okay. So there's been dogs there forever. It's, again, a family owned business. And again, I'm doing this story from memory. So he heard the chirping of the barking of dogs one night, 2019, and he went back to the kennel. He went back and saw there's like 6 dogs around there. Now, on the outside of the kennel in 2019, he noticed dog tracks on the outside of the kennel. And this is what he's telling me. He follows my show. He knows the stories that I read from emailers. He said, "Rob, these things are these are some big dog tracks, man, that he saw in 2019." He just told me this story to release it as of this year. He always thought they were unusually big. So I think nothing of it back in 2019 until I got talking with him within the last 6, 7 months watching the show. He goes, "Man, you do a lot of Dogman stories." He goes, "I tell you what," he snapped a photo on his phone when I went and visited him, and he showed me this big oversized track. This is end of last summer. I said, "Man, that's not a dog track. That's something." I said, "Man, that's unusually big." I'm not gonna tell him it's a dog man or a wolf. First of all, there's no wolves in Michigan, but it was something that was just unusually big. He goes, "Rob, I watched your show. You talk about, do you think this is a dog man?" I said, "Mike, I don't know what this is." Last summer, end of last summer, Mike has a in the back of his house. Again, it's still the country, and he decided to raise chickens. So last year he called me, said, "Rob, man, something got into the kennel, excuse me, the chicken pen, and killed all his chickens. Stomped on them, did whatever they did to them. There was only a couple left, a couple that were alive. There's about 8 or 9 dead chickens." He says, "Rob, what is this? Can you come on over?" And this is last year. I said, "Yeah, I come over." So I get over there, and of course he cleaned up all the dead chickens, took care of all the he buried them, whatever he did, got rid of them. So we are looking around the kennel, and sure enough, there were some pretty sizable prints, oversized dog prints. So I'm like, man, again, you guys, I'm not going to tell somebody you have a dog man in the area. I'm not going to say anything like that. But again, he's picking my brain about all of the shows that I've done regarding the dog man. I said, maybe it is, Mike. Why don't we take a look in the woods and look around? So we go back in the woods. We're looking around. We don't find nothing. We don't find any tracks, you guys. We don't find anything of the nature. So about 3 months ago, he calls me. He goes, "Rob, it's kind of strange. I don't hear those dogs. I don't hear those dogs anymore yapping." Now, again, there wasn't as many dogs as there was when we were kids in previous years. So he decided on his own to go to this kennel again, as I had stated. When he goes to the kennel, everybody, he gets to the kennel. He goes from the back end of the kennel where that gray house was. He got to the gray house and he noticed on this house that there were like condemned building signs on it. There was nobody there. Nobody lived there. The house was now dilapidated and falling apart. So he goes into the kennel, starts walking in the kennel. And in the kennel, there was like a shack with an open door where I guess they left for the dogs to go through. So he starts walking into this area, this shed, I guess. And he's telling me when he got inside of the shed, there were 3 German shepherds in this pen, and they were mutilated. It's not like they died of starvation because nobody was upkeeping the home, which was, marked for demolishing. They were just dead, and they were kind of, as he explained to me, kind of torn apart a little bit. I'm like, wow. So I told him, we're on the phone discussing this. I said, "You've got to look around, See if you can find any predator type footprints or trackings or tracks, I should say. He goes, Rob, remember how long time ago we saw those? We saw those oversized tracks or prints or whatever it was in the ground. I go, yeah. He goes, they were there, and he says to me, Rob, you think that's the Dogman? I says, I'm not going to say yes or no. It's all speculation. We don't know what happened to these dogs. It is kind of strange, however, that they were left in that array. There is no predators in there, and something went in there and killed them. They were, as he told me, torn to pieces. I did not see the actual dogs or what as he explained because this was several months ago, and it was cleaned up since then. So, and this is in Milford, Michigan. So I looked up on the computer. I looked up Milford, Michigan Dogman, things of that nature. Could not find anything, nothing at all, until I came across this article where family in Milford, chicken coop is destroyed, dog goes missing, they hear strange howls at night. Now, this article is not too far from where my friend Mike lives. And I said, yeah, you probably have a problem. First of all, they broke into your chicken coop. You go back into the woods as kids where we went, found 3 dogs taken apart. The house, nobody has lived in this house for many years, is up for, again, to be torn down. So I said, Mike, buddy, you probably got something going on. So we're going to, in fact, next weekend, I'm probably going to head out over there. My knee is good enough. Well, it's not, he's going to pick me up because I still can't drive too well. I can drive as long as I keep my left leg away from the pedals. But I'm going to go check this out, you guys, and see what exactly is going on with this place because it's very intriguing. In fact, I'm going to try to film it and look. And Penny says illegal to kill them as well. Yeah, again, there's no. Again, I don't know what was around there. There are no wolves in Milford. There's very few wolves in in this part of town because he's only like an hour from me. So I don't know what that was, you guys. It was pretty creepy. And I hope he don't have it. It's by his house. Something did in his chickens. And certainly I think it's something that we've got to investigate and took a look at. Again, everybody for just joining. I got my new internet. I was just, this is an impromptu show. I want to tell you my buddy's story. What do you guys think about that? And I got another story that I like to bring up for you guys here in just a second, which is a true story that I actually researched and wrote about some time ago. And if anybody out there would care to pop on, if you got an encounter story, I'll put the link in the chat. This is impromptu, with just me being me. So far, I had it, you guys. I had a hiccup in the internet. It looked like not too happy about that. I'm gonna throw the link though to the chat if everybody wants to hop on, and I'm gonna throw it down here. Thanks for everybody for joining. Let's see if anybody wants to join me. There's the link. But I'm gonna tell you guys a story. This is about everybody's heard about missing people in Vermont. I did something on the Bennington Triangle, wrote about, and
Hey,
oh, I got Krista.
me and Brandy.
Well, this is live. Let me pull you. Hey, there they are. You just think, well, what's going on?
We clicked on your link. You threw it in there.
Well, there you go. Now, how far are you guys from? This is a nice surprise. How far are you guys from Alabama?
Well, we have 30 minutes. We can hang with you.
You got 30. Well, I tell you what. Did you guys hear that story about my buddy that he was telling me about?
We missed it. I was like, oh man, Rob's live. Let's click on him.
Yeah, thanks, Maggie, for the super chat. I finally got the new internet. I said, screw it. I had a new internet. Today's show, was a replay. And I was told you I was so depressed. I am, I'm mad, right? You guys are plus first, you two are in Alabama, gonna be
Yep.
hanging out with Tex. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna test the new internet and I'm gonna tell this Dogman story that my buddy sent me. And see how it's going. So it seems like everything's going well. So yeah, so you guys are 30 minutes out, eh?
Yep. We're getting there. It's been a
You're
long
getting
drive. I'll tell you
well,
what. We went through some place. There was a road called what was that? What was that cemetery, Brandy? Coon Dog Cemetery.
oh, Coon Dog Cemetery. Now that sounds like a place to visit.
Right? That's Alabama. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, we will. I'll leave it at that.
We've been listening for banjos.
You've been listening for banjos. I'm sorry, really quick. I'm trying to scroll through something here right quick, but yeah, I well, thanks for popping on. It's quite a surprise. And yes, my internet is running now. So you guys though are going to be speaking too in Alabama, right? What y'all going to be chit chatting about? Are you guys nervous?
No, I'm not nervous at all. We've done this before,
I
but
know you have. I know you have.
we're talking on the LBL and our encounters, and then just a little bit of history.
Well, that'll be fun. You guys are a lot of fun. In the beginning of the show, I start off by saying, "Man, I wish I was down there." Then I got the blown out knee, which, by the way, I can walk now and I can actually drive. Well, I'm not
Right?
supposed to drive, but I can drive. In fact, this guy, my friend Mike, I was just later on tonight, when you get a chance, you got to listen to the story. It's pretty cool. I'm going to
Yeah.
go help him investigate this. He didn't want me to tell the story. And I said, well, you know what? I called him up and said, I'm doing your story today. Don't give out my name, he said. He says, don't give out my name. I said, don't worry, Mike, I won't. So that's the first thing I said. My buddy, Mike. Big deal. Big deal, Mike.
Right. Well, you didn't say his last name. There's lots of Mikes out there.
Yeah, absolutely there is.
Yeah. Well, if you got someone else that hopped on, we can hop off. It don't matter. We just seen you threw the link out.
No, I was going to tell this story. You guys obviously can watch. I have to read the story for everybody in chat because it's quite lengthy. It's about the Bennington monster. So if you guys just want to kick back and listen, I want to kind of get through this for everybody, and I can you can stay on. There's nobody else wants to pop on. Don't look like I dropped the link again. I get impromptu. So I'm gonna tell the story. You guys can stay on if you like, or whatever, or just listen along, whatever you want to do. So don't mind me, but I got to read this because I don't want to. This is too long for me to do from memory. Some I researched and wrote some time back, so I think you guys will like this. But this is about this story, you guys, is about a cryptid. Don't know quite what it is, and I'm gonna take it from there. I'm just gonna get on with it. So you guys can listen, stay on, whatever you like, and just to continue. Hey, Brandy, I can see. Oh, she's showing me Brandy. Hey, honey, good to see you. So do what you like. Do what you like. I'm gonna get into this story. It's about the Bennington monster.
Okay,
so everybody in chat, if I'm looking down,
we'll be in chat. How's that?
Cool. That sounds good. So for everybody listening,
all right, we'll talk soon.
Okay, thanks. I'll talk to you later. Thanks once again, Maggie, for the super chat. I'm going to tell you guys this cool story. You guys will like it because I think it is cryptid related. Forgive me for looking down at my phone because I'm going to read it to you guys. This is about the Bennington monster. I checked this out. There were some bizarre disappearances in the strange land of Vermont, Bennington's Triangle. And this is about a group of travelers accompanied by a stagecoach through the mountains of Glastonbury. This takes place outside of Woodford during the early 1900s. It was dark and gloomy. A wicked rainstorm was beating upon the road that the stagecoach had been traveling. So again, you guys, 1900s, stagecoach, horse and buggy, that 9 yards. Then the rain had fallen so hard that the road became unsafe to navigate, rendering the stagecoach driver to slow down, and eventually he had to come to a complete stop. What transpired after being stuck in the mountains on this night had to be one of the worst nightmares that they would ever experience in their lives. And again, everybody, I did look this up. I fact checked a lot of this, 1900s. The stagecoach driver, after stopping, got down from his perch atop the coach to examine what he thought to be some sort of fresh tracks in the now deteriorating road. Freaky Geek, this is an old story from 1900s, yes. See, look, I'm reading chat, I'm reading this, I'm keeping you guys entertained best I can. He knew that these tracks were to be fresh as the pounding of rain was easily washing away everything in sight. Upon getting closer to these tracks, the driver of the coach had realized that these tracks were of nothing he had ever seen. They are long, wide, and extremely huge. In fact, without a measuring device, he assesses them to be at least more than double his size of his 9-foot shoe. The horses started to get a little bit uneasy, but the driver paid not much attention in his awe of the tracks. He quickly motioned to the passengers on the coach to come out and help him analyze what he had come upon. The passengers emerged from the stagecoach and they too were in amazement and wondered as to what or whom cast these footprints. The horses now became extremely spooked and started rustling about in a frenzy. Now, the band of members also became very apprehensive, and now the sides of the carriage began to be struck with a very violent and powerful force. So this stagecoach, you guys, is just sitting there, I guess, stuck in the mud, and it's not moving. Now it's being, I guess, attacked by something. The thudding upon the coach grew louder and even stronger than the final blow. The entire coach had tumbled over as if it was a feather blowing in the wind. Staring almost in shock, the carriage driver and the rest of the party noticed huge glowing eyes appearing just from the side of the now immobile stagecoach. The eyes peered at them, then appeared to rise at least 8 feet from the now trodden down path. The beast was indeed every part of 8 feet and covered in very long hair. It growled a horrid grunt. It disappeared into the woodline behind them. Now, of course, earlier in this story, because this is part two of something I've been writing, if you recall earlier in the story that the wild men rambled through the town of Glastonbury in 1867. Now, these wild men in 1867, you guys, they were big, 8 foot tall, humanoid looking people that came down from the hills to the foothills. And what they did is they caused havoc amongst the village towns of these people that were occupying. It was these pioneers, they were traveling in Vermont and they're trying to set up, their homes. They're trying to set up an economy. They're trying to have a place for their children, but they were continually bombarded by these big hairy men. And there's also in this story, as the story goes, and I have this on, it's part one of a video I dropped 2 weeks ago, but there was also lots of strange missing people. People were missing from here. It's supposedly there was a legend of the Native Americans or the First Nations. There was an evil tribe or band of people that cast a spell on this land that just it rendered it a place where you could not live because everybody would be spooked out. So anyway, moving on here with this, the strange part about this is that dating this creature to be going back to 1867, it would date this creature to be well over 80 years old. Again, trying to make sense, this creature has been seen currently in current life. So 80 years ago, it's the same creature that supposedly is haunting Vermont from 1867 until now. It goes on to say in this report that I read that the squash the theory of a human-like wild man because they figured that this thing died off, right? Is further affirmed to be something more paranormal or monster-like, which is hence was deemed the Bennington monster. So I guess, making a long story short, and again, it's kind of confusing if you didn't hear part one of the video I did, is that this thing has been there since the early 1800s. It was what they called a hairy man, or a large creature that's been there since the late 1800s. It overtook the stagecoach. It shook the stagecoach. These people on board the stagecoach saw it. And now today, until current time, 2023, there are still reports of a hairy man, aka Bigfoot. A side note to this story, in 1943 is when the people of Bennington started to go missing. Carol Herrick went missing just outside of Bennington during a hunting trip. He was found dead 3 days later. Surrounding his body, you guys, was the same massive footprints, much like the footprints at the stagecoach attack. Carol Hedrick was squeezed to death, lifeless body. So these encounters, you guys, takes place in Vermont. They call it the Bennington Triangle. And there's a lot of strange things that have gone on there with the paranormal, the supernatural. In fact, a lot of missing people is gone there. I'll give you guys this story. So it's 1945, the strange disappearance of Mitty Rivers. Mitty Rivers, at the age of 74, still knew the woods of Glastonbury and all of its surrounding lands and terrain like no other hiker, tracker, or guide in the area. In fact, the skill level that Mitty possessed makes this story one of the utmost in-depth mysteries surrounding this mountainous land. It was early, and Mitty was commissioned to take a party of 4 hunters into the area of Hell Hollow. In fact, the same area where John Harbor's body was found dead back in an attack of 1897, left outside the stagecoach. This would prove to be a great paying day for Mitty, and he was anxious to lead the hunters back to camp as the day's hunt went down or started to unfold. In fact, Mitty was so excited that he got well ahead of the group that he was leading the camp. So he got outside. So this guy, Mitty Waters, got ahead of the camp and ahead of the people that he was guiding. So this guy, for whatever reason, was overtaken by something and just left these people. So the group of hikers, they turned around because they were unfamiliar with the land, right? Their scout, the person that was supposed to guide them, left them, went far ahead. They go back to camp. Well, guess what? Mitty Rivers never returned back to camp. Knowing that Mr. Rivers was far and above the most skilled woodsman that the area ever had, the hunters showed a lot of early concern. Upon passing of several hours, the hunters began to grow restless and contacted locals and dispatchers from Massachusetts, Fort Devens. This entourage was 300 men deep and combed miles of Hell Hollow and all of the surrounding wilderness of Glastonbury. This lasted for 8 days in total, and only a rifle that Mitty was known to use was found. There was no body, no evidence, or even a hint of an animal attack. The last place Mitty was seen before jumping ahead of his entourage was on Long Trail Route 9, Vermont, Glastonbury, which is today known to be haunted. Yeah, you guys, what's up with that, eh? So you have this Mitty Waters guy, right? He is leading an expedition for a hunting expedition, getting well paid. And all of a sudden, what made this guy decide to leave them behind and just all of a sudden just venture further and further into wilderness, leaving them behind? I mean, he's responsible for these people. These people were not average hikers. They weren't average avid trackers. Sure, perhaps they were hunters, but they paid this guy to lead them. And he all of a sudden takes off and leaves them. Why did he do that? I don't know. I mean, was there some force? Was there something evil going on there? The tales of the Bennington Triangle, they go on forever. They go on forever. 1946, the case of Paula Weldon. This case proves to be just as infamous as any disappearance during the tragic 5-year period of Bennington. In 5 years, 8 people disappeared during this time period. And this is a little more earlier. The young 18-year-old college student of Bennington College, Paula Weldon, became victim of the triangle. It was a bright, sunshiny day, and the exuberant Paula had wanted to take a hike over the weekend after successfully completing her final exams at college. So now this is a more modern story, everybody. Paula had no takers to join her on her hike down Vermont's Long Trail. Again, this date dates back to 1986. Despite having no takers to join her on this venture, Paula was advised not to take off into the woods by herself with her limited knowledge of the woods and hiking and the trails. In fact, Paula did not have any traditional gear for the woods as she was off and running with only a pair of shoes. And her shoes were not made for hiking. And she's sporting a bright red jacket. The weekend ended, and all of her classmates were back at college, but there was not a sign of Paula. Several of Paula's mates had found this alarming and reported this to the faculty. This prompted a massive search party that included 400 students and staff to 1,000 locals with bloodhounds, helicopters, and even a psychic joined the party. So you guys, there's thousands of people now looking for Paula in this Vermont Bennington area, you guys. In fact, there was a reward of $5,000 offered from the Federal Bureau of Investigation if anybody could lead a hand for the successful finding of Paula Weldon. 8 days went by without a clue. No body, no evidence, nothing. Young Paula was missing, not to be found. The only thing that was reported with any semblance of help was from an elderly couple speaking with the FBI. The couple's only statement was that they saw her on the trail. She turned a corner and vanished. So this elderly couple saw Miss Weldon on the trail. They seen her make a turn and vanished. Again, Paula was never found. Not a single piece of evidence from clothing to a body was never found. There was not even a sighting of that bright red jacket. So, yeah, I'm not going to continue to read on. I'll probably post this in a couple of weeks, the entire disappearances. Again, I was here to try out my new internet. I was disappointed I couldn't do a live show with Krista. And it seems like the internet's working fine. Thanks everybody for showing up in this impromptu. I'll hang out for a couple minutes. I'm gonna put a link out one time here if anybody wants to join me. Um, if not, I'll probably call it a day. It's been it's been 45 minutes already. Thanks, Maggie, for the super chat. So again, these are some strange things. What I gather from, I talked earlier about my buddy's alleged possible Dogman he's got going on. I'm gonna go visit him here in a few weeks and do some investigating with him because that's strange how his chickens got killed. And it's not uncommon. I always talk to you guys about all stories provide data because I've done a lot of stories regarding Dogman where a family or a farmer's your chickens have been slaughtered, right? And my friend decided to raise some chickens. I don't know why. I guess he's bored. There's nothing else to do. But to find his pen ravaged and his chickens killed, I've heard these stories again and again and again. And I've also found and heard people telling about the big tracks left behind, oversized dog prints. You can't call them a wolf, can't call them a dog. What do you call them? This is in Milford, Michigan, and this is a very recent story, right? I mean, within the last year, but he told me finally that I could go ahead and tell it for him. I don't know. A lot of these things I don't understand. These missing people that I just reported on a couple. Why are they? These stories were very unusual. Is the paranormal involved in these? You heard about the stagecoach that I just elaborated. Let's talk about that a little bit. What was that? Was that a hairy man? Was it a cryptid? You don't hear many stories about Bigfoot attacking people, right? And again, that story took place in 1867. But when I think wild man, I think a human covered in hair. I don't really think that's is what type of cryptid. So these cryptids, these stories, they go back to the 1800s and earlier. That's why I believe today these things are still prevalent. We're getting and you guys listen to this. This is a key point that I like to mention to everybody. People, unlike the year 2000, people in the 1800s did not hoax tales. I don't think they did. If you go back to the history of Sasquatch, and I've done some videos on just the classic Bigfoot encounters, back then, people weren't paying you for a picture of Bigfoot. People weren't paying you for a story. People had no reason back in the 1800s to make things up. They weren't getting payment. They weren't going to have fame and fortune, right? They were people that truly saw things. So today, when you have the skeptics saying that these things don't exist, well, I tell you what, that's a closed-minded person. That's a person that should go back and do a little research of their own. You don't have to even go in the woods. Go back and look up some of these articles. There are so many articles, you guys, from way back when that have reports. The hairy man, some sort of monster, some sort of creature. Nobody gained, and my bottom line is this, nobody gained by telling these things way back when. Do they gain today? I don't know. You want to make up a story for 15 minutes of fame, be my guest. At least the stories that I do, you guys, everybody, it's all I can never say that word, anonymity, right? So I mean, they don't make nothing off this. I believe there's things out there, everybody. Now my buddy has something going on by him. I'm excited to check this out. I want to go check this out. I'll report back my findings on that. I did drop a link if somebody wants to join me. If not, this was just an impromptu. I know that I've got the lovely girls driving. Brandy, she's driving. Then we got Krista, sidekick. Thanks for popping on earlier. I hope I entertained you a little bit for your drive. Girls, you drive safe. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. This was awesome. I think my internet's working. It's been 50 minutes. My mouth is getting dry. It's getting dry. I got to grab a drink of water or something. But hey, I appreciate each and every single one of you. Don't forget, Mondays is Texas Front Porch at 9 in the East. Tuesdays, Van Buren Variety 8 in the East. 9 o'clock beyond BMR 9 in the East. Jason, Mysterious Library and Untold Radio 10 in the East. Back with Jason on Wednesdays. 8 in the East. Jason McLean questions everything. Next Thursday, I'll be back with Krista. Brunch with Bigfoot Mission Rob. Maybe she'll talk a little bit about her conference. Later on, you got Krista and Brandy, Blondes and the Booze, Paranormal Podcast at 9. You get more of the booze and the woos at 9 on Friday. And don't forget Tex, Infamous Minds, Danielle Diva, True Crime. Check them out. Jessica Jones, Saturday on Space Out Radio, and Sunday at 10 in the East. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining me for this impromptu BMR Live. leave a comment, give a thumbs up, do what you need to do. Let me know if you want me to do these impromptu lives. I kind of enjoyed it outside my dry mouth. I love each and every single one of you. Share, like, subscribe. With that being said, I'm going to again, my computer's looking okay, I found the exit, everybody. I found the exit. I appreciate you all. Brandy, Krista, drive safe. I'll talk to you soon. I'll talk to all of you in chat soon. And to all the people that are want to watch the replay, BMR, he's out.